Hey guys, so let's take a look at hematopoiesis. Now, what is hematopoiesis? Hematopoiesis is the making of blood cells and other blood components like the plasma. Hematopoiesis is a process that begins from a particular type of cell, and that is what we call the hematopoietic stem cell. Okay, you can call it HSC, hematopoietic stem cell. So all blood cells originate from the hematopoietic stem cell, right, in the bone marrow. Now, also, something very important. At different stages of our lives, there are different parts of the body where these production occur. Okay, so for the first 3 days of fertilization, hematopoietic stem cells are functional in the yolk sac, so in the embryonic yolk sac of embryo. Okay, now from about 3 months to around about 7 months, this production, the hematopoietic stem cell production, moves from the yolk sac to the liver and spleen, to the liver and spleen, and subsequently, as we grow, it moves to the bone marrow, more precisely bone marrow, the red bone marrow. Now, this production in a full-fledged human is relegated to the axial skeleton. So the flat bones, the bones of the sternum, the vertebral column, and the rest. So this is where the blood cells are produced. Now let's go into hematopoiesis improper. Remember I said hematopoiesis begins with a type of cell, and we call it the hematopoietic stem cell. Okay, now the hematopoietic stem cell will form two other type of cell. Okay, now the first will be the lymphoid cell, and we also have the myeloid cell. The lymphoid cells and the myeloid cells. Now the lymphoid cells will differentiate to form other types of cell. Now what can it form? Firstly, the lymphoid cell differentiates to form the lymphoblast. The lymphoblast now forms the NK cells. What are the NK cells? The NK cells are the natural killer cells. Okay, now when these are formed, they are thrown into the bloodstream. That's the blood vessel. Okay, now the lymphoblast also forms what we know as the B cells. The B cells. Now, the B cells is formed in the bone marrow. Note that, very important. So, B cells is formed, they mature rather, they mature in the bone marrow, the red bone marrow. After maturation, they're also thrown into the bloodstream. Okay, now we also have another called the T cells. T stands for thymus here. Now, something happens in the T cells. The T cells are formed in the bone marrow. However, it does not mature in the bone marrow. What happens is that it gets into the bloodstream, okay, and moves to the thymus. So the thymus, in the thymus, the T cells mature. The T cells mature. So there's something like a sorting in the thymus, in the thymus. So the T cells are sorted out, given some certain antigens, and so on. Now, after that sorting, the T cells returns back to the bloodstream. Okay, so that is the the lymphoid cells pathway, the lymphoid cell pathway. That's what happened there. Now let's go into the myeloid cells. Now a couple of things happen in the myeloid cells. The myeloid cells can form a type of cell known as the erythroblast. Okay, so the erythroblast. So the erythroblast will form the reticulocyte. Sorry, the space is small. I'm trying to manage. The erythroblast will form the reticulocytes. Okay, now the reticulocyte is thrown into the bloodstream. Now, after 2 or 3 days, it matures to form the erythrocyte, which are the mature red blood cells. Okay, now that is that. Now, another type of cell in the myeloid pathway is what we call is the myeloblast. The myeloblast. Now, the myeloblast differentiate to form. I'll get rid of this. So the myeloblast, it differentiates to form the granulocytes and the agranulocytes. So the granulocytes, like the eosinophils, the eosinophils, the basophils, and the neutrophils. So basically, these three, they contain granules, very active for fighting against infections and intruder, that's pathogen. Now, the myeloblasts also form another type of cell called the monocyte. The monocyte. Monocyte is an granulocyte. Now, the monocyte in the bloodstream, it is called the monocyte. So, mind you, all these after the formation, they are being thrown, all these are being thrown into the bloodstream. The monocyte as well goes into the bloodstream. Now, in the bloodstream, monocytes, they are called monocytes. Okay, so these cells are called monocytes. So it is called monocyte when it's in the bloodstream. However, when it leaves the bloodstream, into the tissues, they are called macrophages. They are called macrophages when it leaves the bloodstream into tissues. Okay, so that is that. Now, we also have another division, another category, or another cell type from the myeloid stem, from the myeloid cells. Now, that is called the megakaryoblast. Megakaryoblast. It differentiates to form the megakaryocyte. The megakaryocyte. And the megakaryocyte is what forms not a type of cell, but a blood component, which we call the the which we call not a type of cell. It forms a blood component, which we call the platelets. the platelets. Okay, so the platelets, just like a chunk of mass that gets into the bloodstream and they are chunked into small pieces, plays function in blood clotting. In blood clotting. Okay, so all these as well are thrown into the bloodstream. Yes. So that is hematopoiesis, a basic run through on hematopoiesis. So thank you and see you in my next video.